Okay, here we are again on the air. Welcome to this session about e-mobility, repurposing e-mobility. So this morning we have traveled in Europe with Open Heritage, and this afternoon we are going to travel across Europe again with e-mobility. We are going to look at what is happening in different European cities. We have the three pilot city in GreenCharge, and we have our host city, Freiburg, also who will participate and tell about their stories. So we are going to discuss challenges, solutions. We are going to compare. Maybe we are going to look at how things can be transferred from one city to another city. We know it's not easy because cities are different. They are built in different ways. They have different size. There are different weather conditions. There are a lot of different things that create different needs. And also there are different culture of mobility in those cities. But we'll see what will happen. And also, we will look at the European perspective. We have here on board our project officer in GreenCharge that will talk about European concerns. But first, I would like to invite. I would like to invite our pilot cities in GreenCharge. First on board we have Bremen and Michael here, yeah, and Beate are going to talk a bit about Bremen. In GreenCharge we have three pilot cities. We have Barcelona, we have Oslo, and we have Bremen. And in our pilots, we are dealing with a bit different things. In Barcelona, we are sharing light vehicles. In Oslo, we are doing energy smart management in residence. And in Bremen, you are doing a bit slightly different things. So maybe you can tell a bit about what is happening in Bremen and how this compare to the other pilots in GreenCharge. So who want to start? You want to start,
Yeah.
Michael? Okay. Yeah.
So, talking about electric mobility, we know that it's a crucial module for climate protection. The targets in Germany is to reach in 2030 almost a 30% share of the fleet of electric cars within the entire car fleet. So that's 14 million electric cars with everything that's necessary for that. That's factor 10 about, or more than factor 10 in comparison to what we have right now. But electric cars will not solve our transport problem, to say that also very clearly. Whether you are with an electric car in congestion or whether the parked cars are electric or non-electric doesn't make a change. So we try to go beyond that. And a crucial part in Bremen, and Bremen is well known in the Civitas community for that, is car sharing. So car sharing in the sense to have an alternative to car ownership. And Bremen is a cycling city. We have a 25% share of cycling, 25% share of walking. So lots of people have a car just occasionally or need a car only occasionally. And there it's the point where car sharing comes into the game. And within GreenCharge, we try to promote car sharing. So what we want to have is not as many e-cars as possible, but to have as few cars as necessary and a high share of electric cars within the fleet. And one module of GreenCharge in Bremen is the integration with new housing developments. And there are also some parts with a power supply But the main point is to give an alternative to car ownership, to reduce the number of cars, and with that change also the mobility patterns of the people. And Beate may say maybe a bit more about what's around it with the charging.
Yes.
Beate?
Yeah, of course. Car sharing is our, as Michael said, is our main interest, and of course it would be just great to get the people on board of electric cars. There are many sort of hindrances to it. People have sort of resistance to try new technologies, and if they do car sharing, they in the first place use the incinerators and not the e-cars that are already available. So in the first place, we have to get the people off their own car and use sharing offers. And the second issue is to get the people to use e-mobility as well. And this is an additional point we have to clearly make, that if we don't can bring the people and take the people with us on this technology change, we will not have any car sharing. And but this is it has to follow. First, get to use make them use sharing vehicles, and second, make them use powered vehicles.
The big advantage with car sharing is you have different cars at your disposal. So you can always choose the also technological solution that fits the best to your purpose of travel with range. And we all know that most of the trips are in a range where electric cars are perfectly working. But for the few trips that might be longer or with some special needs, then you can choose the vehicle that's always best fitting to the purpose. So that's also good for, let's say, the change from ICE powered cars to electric cars.
This is very interesting. I want to ask you, how do you motivate people for that change? How do you motivate people to share?
Well, first of all, we have an existing system. There are 20,000 people of Bremen already using car sharing, and they gave up about 6,000 private cars. And when you ask what's important for you, we have done these surveys within a European project just before COVID in 2018 it was published. Number one, what people want is easy handling of car sharing. Number two is reliability, that a car is there when you need one. And number three is proximity of the next car sharing station. And when you look at the satisfaction rates in these points, it's all somewhere between 80 and 90%. So it seems that our operator is doing something right. And when it comes to the proximity of stations, then it's also the role of the municipality to provide space in the streets so that there are stations nearby where you work or where you live at these points where you need a car. So, and it's really replacing the private car. It's not a one-to-one replacement for every trip, because there's also a change in mobility patterns. Car sharers use more public transport, they use more the bike. And a good thing, for instance, when I need a long distance travel, I can take the rail and take a car at the other end of the trip. So I have then intermodal chains as well. So that's very convenient. And from my point of view, I'm also doing it. I'm not owning a car anymore for many, many years now. It's convenient. Yeah. Winter tires. A lot of people now change to winter tires with their cars. For me, it's all done. Yeah. Repair, maintenance. I have a fleet of cars at my disposal. So it's convenience. And on top, I save money. So what else can you ask for?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think also some key factor here is availability. As you say, you can use different modes. So this is something we have to learn from Bremen, I think. But I would like to go to our next pilot city and switch to Oslo. I thank you, Beate and Michael. You are going to come back a bit later. So from Oslo, we have Patrick Bubilek. Yeah. Hello, Patrick.
Oh,
Yeah. So in Norway, I think we have a bit different approach. We are going to tell it. I'm living in Norway myself, in Trondheim, and in Norway we have a goal to have all sales of car in 2025 to be electric car, and we have already a very large share of electric cars. And so, of course, the problem is to charge everything. And in our pilot in GreenCharge, we are looking at how to best use the energy we have to avoid doing big investment in the infrastructure. You are working in the Agency of Urban Development in the city of Oslo. And so maybe I would like you to tell a bit about the strategy that you have in Oslo for e-mobility, not only for car, but for also other aspect of mobility.
yes, of course. As you said, what we are working is trying to understand how can we make sure that everybody can charge. And if you look at Oslo, EV sales are boosting. The shares of EVs and plug-in hybrid sales in Oslo reached 87% so far this year. So 9 out of 10 vehicles sold are now electric. So the future is here right now. There's no longer a vision where we see in the future and see a beautiful day where we drive use electrical vehicles as transportation. So it's here and now. And so how did we get here? And what we say is that green taxes are actually working, but you have to make it affordable for people to take green choices. And I think if we look at policy measures, there are 3 main factors. The first one is that EV must be cheap to buy. So no purchasing tax. It must be cheap to use, free parking, free electricity, and of course, convenient to use, easy access to charging and access to parking. And if we look in the future, we need to have more holistic view. So we need to understand, or I believe that we need to focus more about public transportation. It should be electric, should use electricity. We need electrification of all commercial vehicles, and of course, shared mobility, as we already been told. But as you said, we are trying to understand how can we make sure that everybody can charge. As I said, 9 out of 10 cars sold today, new cars, are electrical. So we have to understand how can we do it. And if we look at public curbside charges, we have about 2,000, but it's not enough. It only focuses on 30% of citizens that does not have private parking. And if you look at the structure of Oslo, you see that 61% of people who live in Oslo live in multi-family buildings. And new buildings, all new buildings have this 100. There are 100 ready for electric vehicles, but the old one aren't. So buildings built before 1990 have this low local grid capacity. So when the people built buildings before 1990, no one never thought about creating the space for electric vehicles or upgrading or creating this electric infrastructure for the future. But here we are. We need to understand that that's the great thing about the GreenCharge pilot that we have in Oslo, where we're trying to understand how can we optimize low grid capacity in the buildings, because there will be more electric vehicles and they will need to charge. So we want to create this smart grid where we can predict charging time and of course capacity for all the cars that should be charged in this area. Yeah.
The Roverkollen residence, that is part of the pilot, Oslo has supported the residents to install solar panels. So is there a plan to do that for other residents in Oslo, or it's just a way to just get experience of it?
I think we need to look in the future, and there are a lot of different residents in Oslo. So we need to understand what is working and how can we replicate this to other residents in the Oslo. So we need to see this as the whole ecosystem that works together to ensure that every vehicle has enough electricity.
And what about active mobility, bikes, e-bikes? What is Oslo doing there?
We have a lot of different projects within electricity, but I want to say it's the same thing. We need to look at this whole ecosystem because it's all affecting each other. But we're also looking at the other cities and countries, what they are doing and trying to evolve and to create a better ecosystem here in Oslo. Yeah,
thank you, Patrick. I will bring you back later. But now I turn myself against Larissa Brandenstein, that is here from the city of Freiburg. So you are urban mobility planner. Oh, I have the pleasure to be here in Freiburg, and I must say I'm very impressed by the city. Freiburg is called the Green City, and I think it's very green. There are a lot of hills, a lot of forest around. But yesterday when I traveled by train here, I was surprised to see all the houses where you have installed solar panels. It's very impressive. So I learned that Freiburg has been one of the earliest cities to have this installation of solar panels. Today I come here by tram, and when you are new in a city, it's always, how do I do that? I take the tram, the bus, and I really think it was very easy to travel here. It was a very smooth travel. I am impressed, really, by your city, Larissa. So maybe I would like to you to share a bit of what is happening here with e-mobility, beyond what I have experienced myself.
Thank you very much. I will tell my colleagues, which are working for the city of Freiburg since many more years than I am doing it. I started working there in the field of mobility and last year, so I'm quite new. I'm working mainly on mobility concepts for new housing areas. I'm doing a revision of the construction rules for car and bike parking. I'm elaborating a climate mobility plan, which has the goal to reduce 40% of CO2 emissions until 2030 compared to 2010. And I'm also coordinating the expansion of the e-charging infrastructure. So many of the topics we already talked about are actually being my work. You told that Freiburg is a green city where it had an early movement for environmental movement against the nuclear power station. So this is maybe where the solar panels are coming from. We have many cyclists. We have the district Bourbon, which is well known, I think, in the world for being a very early developed housing area without cars in the streets. And we also have the E-Clay, and that's maybe why I'm here today. Yes, you wanted me to talk about e-mobility, and I think the people before myself, they already told many important facts about it. I want maybe to talk a bit more about every kind of electric vehicle, which is also the trams, the e-buses, the e-scooters, e-Vespas, e-bikes. So there's many electric vehicles. And we in the city of Freiburg, we are not pronouncing that much the electric part of it, but we are thinking of where this vehicle changed by being electric. So what is the positive effect of a bike being electric? And the clear effect is that we can commute longer distances. So where's the benefit of a e-scooter. It's a new vehicle that appeared, which we didn't have before. So our work is not that much providing charging infrastructure for every car. So we think e-cars are a part of a solution, but we don't want to promote it too much because we think the state Germany already promotes it quite intensely. So we really prefer to promote, to have a really safe and good bicycle parking, to have place for sharing offers, to have easy sharing for cars and motorbikes, change construction rules, as I told before, to have a nice and secure parking for bicycles, to make the negotiation with the sharing mobility of providers that it implements well or integrates well in our mobility portfolio. And we are planning on so-called bicycle highways to make the commuting easier and to really promote the benefit of the vehicle being itself electric. So we have an e-mobility plan, which was written some years ago, but our politics, they say, realize it, but only within your capacity, and focus on other things more than promoting this electric car. So we want the cars out of the city. Like, that's my opinion. We are working on convincing people that a city without cars could be a little bit more attractive than it is now. And the cars that cannot be replaced, they should be electric. But I think we have a little problem that people think they kind of buy themselves out of climate pollution topics, buying an electric car. And I think we need to be honest with it. That's not the final solution. And that is why we want to be a little faster with maybe promoting a behavioral change than that much of a technical change.
Yeah, we will see tomorrow if as a participant to the conference thinks like you, because we will have a session to actually find out what people are thinking about this electric cars. And you know, I see there are a lot of bikes here in Freiburg, and also near the tram stop, you can rent bike. You can not only bikes but also cargo bikes. It's quite impressive. How many people are biking in Freiburg? You know that? 50%?
I think even more. I think within the city, it's the main mode of transport is actually the bicycle. So it's the most important. And also in the surroundings, people like e-bikes are sold out everywhere. You don't get any e-bike within the next year, I think. So it's actually a new mobility opportunity to have an electric bike and to really use it to commute or to visit your friends somewhere outside of the city. And we have a really nice nature and really nice bicycle lanes. So people love the bicycle in Freiburg. But also they also love their cars. So we have rising numbers of cars every year, to be honest. With this.
Yeah, I noticed also that German people have very big cars.
Yeah.
This was something that struck me. Okay, but thank you, Larissa. And I am going to invite to introduce Angel Lopez Rodriguez. You are coming from Barcelona to Freiburg. It's a long travel. And you are a director of e-mobility strategy in the city of Barcelona. So Barcelona, a very different city than the city of Freiburg, because it's much bigger, much more people living there, so much more spread. And also you have all this big tourism. A lot of people love Barcelona. Now it was a bit quieter during the pandemic, but I guess it start to live again.
Yeah.
And then all this actually also create very particular needs for mobility. You have to fulfill the needs of the people living there and people visiting the city. So you are going to tell about your strategy.
Yeah. Thank you, Jacqueline, and thank you to the organization. I apologize, but I happy using public transport, but I was reading my emails and I skipped the stop of the meeting. And thanks to the organization to keep me on the next stop. Well, I think the key words are not vehicles and electric vehicles as you explained before. The words are a strategy of mobility, and what the electromobility could help to improve the systems of mobility. Is for that, for example, in Barcelona, we start with a program to promote the electric vehicle in the 2008, for example. But now we are thinking that we need to reconsider our sustainable urban mobility plan to integrate electric vehicles, but not as an objective. The electrification of mobility is not the objective, is an improvement of the system. Well, it's for that. Well, it's a great honor to explain that. I have prepared a short exposition, more global, not focused on Barcelona, but more focused on the difference in several cities about how to incorporate, how to integrate electric vehicles. And first, I would like to pass a little reflection, as perhaps very academic, but the statement is vehicles make it possible to design transport systems, and transport systems provide mobility services. And at the end, what we need to incorporate is the mobility services, whatever the vehicles we have. Obviously, electric vehicles are the best technology we have up to now. Maybe we can have other technologies, but vehicles, I'm not saying cars, not saying bicycles, not saying motorbikes, not saying buses. Electric are the best technology. So what we must talk about is about the mobility strategies, not vehicle strategies. And if we plan for vehicles, maybe perhaps we will have the better vehicle, but not the better mobility. And as you said before, we don't want to have a lot of cars in the city, because the cars occupy a lot of space. They are inefficient, maybe not pollutant, because that will be electric, but the case is the same. We need a lot of space, and we are using in different way these private vehicles. Another question is, our cities are all very different. We have different cultures, different customs, different habits, different infrastructures, and this is reflected how we move. I could maybe exaggerate if I say, tell me how you move, and I'll tell you which city you live in. And probably if I said, you move long distances by tube and go up to the second deck of the bus, you live in London, that's clear. You go by train and then by bicycle, sometimes a shared electric car,
Bremen.
Amsterdam.
Oh, no.
Maybe Amsterdam, maybe other cities, but it's clear, Amsterdam. You are a commuter who always ride a bike on a bicycle highways, even in winter. Copenhagen. Trondheim, okay. Trondheim, Copenhagen is more or less there. You go everywhere on a motorbike because you can park cars on the street. You probably will live in Barcelona. You walk, bike, tram, you live in Freiburg. Yeah?
Yeah.
So we are different, we move different. And of course, the urban structure condition the solutions of our mobility in the cities. But it's clear that all neighborhoods with narrow streets define exclusively mobility with soft modes of transport. And new streets, wide and compatible with the motorized vehicles, offer greater capacity and promote more motorized vehicles. but with high environmental cost. So the key is how to equilibrate, how to balance this old town with the new part of the cities. In Freiburg, in Berlin, in Amsterdam, we have the old town and the new part of the cities, where we need to plan and replan. And I think this word of reuse or replan the infrastructure to allow better mobility is the key at this time. So because the streets are the public space to develop mobility, is the public space for mobility infrastructure, for the tram, for the bus lanes, for the bikes. But the question is, what we put there to have the better and globally balanced system? Nowadays, new vehicles appear, small scooters, bicycles, and large cars, trucks, vans, electrified, with electric powertrains that promise solutions to mobility problems. But remember, vehicles don't solve mobility problems. What solves mobility problems are systems, are strategies for mobility. And so the key is that the energy supplied to the vehicles, to electric vehicles, change the paradigm, because we need to incorporate in the system when the bus is charging, when the car is charging, when the electric vehicle, bicycle is charging. And that's each city knows how to do better. For example, Barcelona, with many motorbikes and with off-street parking, what we are promoting in electromobility, mainly electric motorbikes, sharing systems of motorbikes, quick chargers off-street, electric bicycles, and so on. And that is we have developed in the GreenCharge project. So finally, to close the ideas is all cities we are engaged to improve mobility of our citizens. Electric vehicles can help if we learn how to integrate in the mobility system. So electrifying vehicles is not a goal, is not, we are not focusing on the electric vehicle, but focusing on how to use and how to incorporate the electric vehicle. And each city will incorporate in a different way. Cars, buses, obviously tram, train is electric yet. That's perfect. Thank you.
And I thank you very much. I also wonder, because you have, we experienced change, we have to change behavior when we move. What is the reaction of the citizens in Barcelona? What do they say?
Well, this is a tricky question because as technicians, as politicians, we try to move the behavior of citizens to better mobility. Not always we convince them. In our case, we have a strategy, a pact, an agreement between stakeholders that we said the Pacta per la Mobilitat, where we talk about all of that. And maybe that is a tricky solution, is to incorporate the knowledge from the citizens, what the citizens are starting to do and which infrastructure needs to do that. For example, one old example, but a very good example, was the introduction of a bike sharing system in the 2006. I don't know Freiburg, your free law, but we are starting 2006.
It's not that old.
Yeah. And that's what, because the bicycle was not increasing in Barcelona. We have a lot of infrastructure, a lot of bike lanes, but we have no bikes. And the only way to have the objective to increase the infrastructure, to increase the bike lanes, is to have more bikes. And citizens are not convinced on we implement biking, a bike sharing system, a scheme, and we have a double of use of bicycles, and that needs to have more and more infrastructure.
Yeah.
And then we have a ramp up of bicycles, not as Freiburg, obviously, but for example, this is a scheme where some system, not now we have electric bicycles in the biking, but that is not the key. The key is how to start with some kind of system that increase the use of better behavior of citizens.
Thank you. And this is a nice transition, because now we are going to look at a video from GreenCharge. We have a different demonstrator in Barcelona. One related to e-scooter, one related to e-bikes, one related to e-cars at work. But we are going to look at something at the e-bikes for commuters, so people who travel with public transportation and can take e-bikes. So,
hello. Here we are to show you our Barcelona D3 demonstrator of the GreenCharge project. With this demonstrator, the town hall of Sant Quirze del Vallès wants to provide to commuters a solution to go to work by train and using an e-bike instead of using their own private cars, avoiding traffic jams and pollution to the city. For this demonstrator, we have joined the effort of 3 private companies, including Eurecat Atlantis, with the support obviously of the train operator and the town hall of Sant Quirze del Vallès. With the GreenCharge project, we have provided a digital solution to the existing service. We have developed an app for the user. We track the bicycles and we charge the battery with a PV panel. We also use a smart system to balance the charge of the battery of the bicycles using the public supply electricity and the local production of electricity through the PV panels. Although the number of bicycles is small for this pilot, the system is prepared to be scalable to provide a solution for many other cities.
yes. This was one of our demo in the GreenCharge. So we have 3 in Barcelona, as I said. We have 2 demos in Bremen about car sharing, about charging, and we have also 2 in Oslo about energy management in residence and also for visitors. So if you want to read more about them, you can go on our GreenCharge website, and then you will see the main different things that we are testing. But then we have seen a lot of different modes, and I would like maybe to ask our audience online about the preferred mode. So we have a Mentimeter. You will get the code on the chat, and so use mentimeter.com and use that code, and you can give your vote. What is your preferred mode of transportation? So we let you 2-3 minutes to do that. Okay. I am very excited to see the different results we will guess. Should we guess?
I asked some weeks ago, we had a small street festival in Freiburg, and we asked the people, which is your main mode of transport, and everybody put his little point on bicycle.
Oh, okay.
So it was quite boring. And then we asked, but when, or if you use your, what would have to happen so you don't use your car anymore? And then suddenly it appeared that people were also using their cars at some point. So
okay.
let's hope that they answer honestly and not just how it could maybe be nice for us.
And what would they answer in Barcelona?
Well, I think the answer depends in which city you are. But when in Barcelona, I prefer the metro. The metro is the quickest transport in the center of city. For example, this pilot in Barcelona is on the metropolitan area, where metro lines are not arrived. Only this regional train, and there may be most of the users, most of 50% use car. Less dense areas and surrounding areas, metropolitan areas, not well served by public transport, need some kind of intermodality. And intermodality is a huge challenge in Barcelona, in the metropolitan area.
In Trondheim, where I live, I think we would get 50-50 cars and bikes. Actually, we don't have, we have, they are building a bike pass infrastructure, but there are still a lot to do. So there are some conflicts between cars and bikes, because bikes have, of course, to go on the street. So and also something that we have in Norway, I don't know, we have gates. You know, to come in the city by car, you have to pay. Yeah. Also in Oslo, in Bergen, in Trondheim, the big city, and this money is used to build things useful for the environment. For example, bypass. So the drivers are not very happy to pay for the bike. Okay, but is the result of Mentimeter ready? Bikes, electric bikes, bicycle, kayak. Yeah, this was fun. Okay. So bike is first here. Okay, but then I am going to, we are going to invite again our Beate and Michael to bring them in. And I am going to ask about their top tips. So, yeah, and Patrick is here too. Yeah, thank you. So, Beate and Michael, one challenge, one opportunity, and one success. Please. Beate?
I'm a bit lost. The challenge is how to get e-mobility on the ground. Challenge is we don't have enough room for this, so we have to sort out our parking in public street space in the first place, and this is a very conflict-heavy process, because not all people like this, because we have simply too many cars. I mean, the number of cars is so large that we can't install charging infrastructure. So this is a challenge. And the success is that we started already in one area of our street with this, and we've seen it's possible. It's hard work, but we got our colleagues from the municipality joining us. So this is a success. We are all working in different departments and we are all working together on this subject. So there's a common understanding of how to do this. And so this is a success. And when we look into the future, then we have to find solutions for the energy transition of our transport system as a whole.
Yeah, maybe just to underline also the Barcelona approach, that not a single mode will be the answer, but this kind of integration. I think this is really a point, and it's a success that Bremen was able to let's say that the users of car sharing, more than 20,000 users, have taken 6,000 cars off the road. That's 30 kilometers of road space. And I think this is a tremendous success, and we're happy to serve as an example because this will accelerate also the process in our own city. And I think this is something inspiring others, but also keeping on the track here in our own city. That's important.
Larissa?
My top tip, I also liked your approach of getting people to change their behavior with promoting a real comfortable systems, because people like to be comfortable and they don't want to have any effort extra to make. And this is, I think, one reason why the car is so successful, because it's quite comfortable. So maybe we have to take away the comfort from the car, the private car, and rise a lot the comfort of all the alternatives, so that the behavioral change we need is not felt like something the state dictates from above, but it really feels like a really good idea to do so in your daily mobility. And then going back to e-mobility with the charging infrastructure, one thing we always have to fight with is that people ask us, the municipality, to build them a charging station in front of their door in public space, but privately reserved for them. And it doesn't matter if the charging post is on the pathway. And I'm like, no, we are not doing this. This is public space, and we have the idea of keeping the sideways and the pathways for the pedestrians, for the children, for people without or in wheelchairs. And I really hope that the idea of this electric car is not gaining all the other ideas. So I really don't want it to dominate the whole discussion. And this is my tip, my hope, that it's not continuing to being the most important mode of transport, although we are in Germany and although there's many people working in the sector, but I think we need some new ideas, and I'm hoping that maybe this format helps people of changing a bit their ideas.
Thank you, Larissa. Patrick?
Yes, I think the main challenge is limited space. And of course, we have a lot of buildings here in Oslo where local grid capacity is low. But at the same time, I like what we were talking about, the habits and behavior of citizens, and that's something we need to work. And I like to say that the success is that we are asking the tough questions and lifting the topic up so that we can understand what does it mean for us in the future and what type of mobility will be used in the future. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Aurel? Yeah.
Well, maybe the main challenge is use of the space because it's scarce, has a high value of the space on cities, and this space is used by mobility. But now we are in the question of how to match mobility and energy, because the way we provide energy to mobility is changing. And the trick is not not allow this kind of solutions of I have an electric car, I need a space on the street to charge the car. That's not that is a question our citizens are also asking for us to install a public infrastructure to charge on the night. But we have just approved on the council a plan, a urban plan, to avoid this charging on the street, only fast charging in the emergency cases, or charging for public transport, but taxis or freight distribution, but not for privates. Privates with an electric car, with an electric motorbike, will charge in private premises, in private garages, in private, off the street, obviously, because the place of the private car are not on a street, on public space. Is for that, for example, as a success, we are developing these swapping batteries for motorbikes, or this plan, this urban plan, to organize the investment of charging stations underground or off the street. One trending topic, maybe not a top tick, is the scooters. And that's leads me to think, when we put some restrictions to car, people escape from this restriction. For example, in the 2004, we put some kind of toll using the parking and so on, but we are not tolling motorbikes, and motorbikes increase huge. Then in the pandemic situation, the public transport was discussed because the problematics of epidemiology and so on, and people start to use a lot of bicycles, but also a lot of scooters. Okay, and now Barcelona is a scooter city. Because we have a lot of bike lanes, we have adapted the city to use the bikes, but the scooters use the same space. And we are invaded by scooters. Not shared scooters, owned scooter by citizens.
Okay.
Not shared scooting system. We have forbidden the shared scooter systems. But well, for us, this is a challenge now. How to manage this new small vehicle and dangerous.
I am looking forward to go to Barcelona.
Yeah, you will look. That's very changing.
Yeah. Okay, but then now we are going to bring in Pedro, Alfonso, Pérez, Losa. Pedro is our project officer in GreenCharge, and is attached to CINEA, that is the Climate Infrastructure and Environment Agency. And then I would like to invite Pedro to tell us about the European vision, and also GreenCharge was funding for some years ago, and things are changing. So maybe the solutions you are working now in GreenCharge are also a bit obsolete. I don't know. Maybe we are going to tell us. And I would like you to tell us what are the expectations for the next 10 years in Europe. Yeah.
You ask a lot. Jacqueline, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. And thanks also to the speakers who have shown with very interesting information about the initiatives to support the electromobility, which definitely will contribute to achieve a more sustainable transport in Europe. Yes. Well, as you have already mentioned, Jacqueline, my name is Pedro Pérez, and I work at CINEA, the European Climate Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency. I'm the project officer of GreenCharge. First of all, please accept my apologies for not attending physically this event. Unfortunately, even if I would like, to have it there, it has not been possible. Well, actually, we have seen some electromobility solutions that the cities of Barcelona, Bremen, Freiburg, and Oslo put in place in order to contribute to some objectives defined by the European Commission regarding the transport and mobility sector. Well, these mainly are sustainable mobility, smart mobility, and resilient mobility as well. However, I still see some important challenges that have to be overcome if Europe wants to achieve the goals of the sustainable and smart mobility strategy I will mention afterwards. Well, in particular, regarding the electromobility and from the technical point of view, we have issues, among others, with the backwards compatibility with the ancient systems in order to take advantage of the existing deployed infrastructure to the extent possible. Likewise, interoperability in the systems is one of the key aspects to keep seamless services and allow European roaming in this area as well. And last but not least, standardization is crucial to achieve the interoperability and future backwards compatibility once the technology evolves. Well, from the strategical point of view, among others, the transferability of suitable local solutions between different cities is heavily influenced not only by cultural aspects, but also by the area or city dimension we want to cover. Moreover, scaling up the solutions which have been successfully put in place in small urban areas to medium or big-sized populated areas are usually not efficiently carried out, so that some important aspects are not duly addressed and these are not so effective. Well, I would say that more efforts should be done to increase the capacity building in the city so that they can create more tailor-made mobility strategies based on existing local solutions. Well, I would like to mention that the European Commission has launched not only new programs such as the well-known Horizon Europe or the Connecting European Facilities too, in order to fund, among other initiatives, dealing with the electromobility as a key piece to achieve the goals in the European transport mobility sector. But also, they have launched the new sustainable and smart mobility strategy with one key milestone of delivering a 90% reduction in the transport sector's emission by 2050, meaning an irreversible shift to zero emission mobility. I know it's an ambitious goal, but we will work together to achieve this. And actually encourage you to have a look over this new European sustainable and smart mobility strategy to find the areas of action or flagship areas, as we call it, in which this strategy is focused on the milestones expected by the defined timeline. We have defined 3 periods of time as of now till 2030, then 2035, and finally 2050. So fostering cohesion, reducing regional disparities, as well as improving connectivity and access to the internal market for all regions remains of strategic importance for the European Union in order to achieve a harmonized, cohesive, and interoperable European transport area. So this is my main message. I want to advise you to work towards these main objectives. I would like to thank you for your attention, and we can continue with the discussion after this reflection. So now, Jacqueline, the stage is yours. By the way, I'm really impressed. You know how you're managing this. You are very, very fluent in managing this session. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, Pedro. I have a question for you.
Yes.
One more. Since here at the conference we have 2 different projects, Open Heritage and GreenCharge. So we are dealing with very different things. And we were talking this morning that everything is connected. And I was thinking, if we want to achieve this vision of Europe of climate neutral transportation, I think that it hangs with so many things. And this morning I was talking a bit about production. Production has moved out our city, so we have a lot of transportation to bring goods in the city, and so everything is connected. So how is it? Is it something that is described in the vision of Europe, that we don't consider only transportation alone, but we consider transportation in a wider context with all those different things we are dealing with?
Yes, well, actually, the strategy goes for the gathering of the best practices, of the solutions that already show it, that they work together, and then to have a common vision about a common solution for the same problem. Here we face the problems, as you already know, and as Pérez has been already mentioned it in other sessions, about the cultural aspects, geographical dimension as well, geopolitical as well, even aspects there, so that here what we want is to, as I said before, to go to a harmonized, cohesive approach, so that we have let's say a single view, a common view, and to reach to address the same problem with the same solution, and of course bearing in mind the particular aspects of the area when we want to implement or to develop or to perform this solution.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Pedro.
You're welcome.
So we are going to conclude to this session, and I would like to thank everybody who participated, and Randrel, who traveled from Barcelona here. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Yeah. So this was our first day, but tomorrow will be a new day, and we will have many different sessions. So tomorrow we will start at 9:30. And we will start with a knowledge cafe related to heritage communities and what did they learn from the pandemic. We will also have a session related to the European Year of Rail and to rethinking transportation infrastructure. And we will have a very exciting session, electrical vehicle fairy tale, where you will play together with us. So yeah, I hope you will attend tomorrow, and thank you very much for today. Mm-hmm.